Oh, yeah. We gonna have a whole lot of fun with the one and only Jill Gulotta. All right. And so, look, we're gonna have a good time on this episode. But what we're really about to do is we're really about to dig into Jill's story. Jill is a recently best-selling author. She is an incredible, incredible coach. She is somebody that knows her shit and lives a very direct and bold lifestyle. And that's what we're about to get into today. So, Jill, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for that intro. I feel fired up already.
Come on, now you know how we do it. You know how we do it. All right, but for the people, okay, I could give them all the accolades. I could tell them everything that they need to know about you, but I want you to give them a little bit of insight into who you are and what you do.
Sure. So, and I think it falls in line, just the type of person I am. In the book that I wrote is very much about creating your own path. And so when I was growing up, I feel like the path was laid out for me. So I grew up in New York, school, college, Wall Street, right, to be in finance. And I just found early on that that was not for me. And I really loved helping people. So I went back to school and I became a registered dietitian. So that's like my first profession in serving and coaching people. own my own private practice for nutrition, specializing in eating disorders and disordered eating. And through that work, I really realized that I love understanding people. I love understanding what drives their behavior. I love getting to the deeper rooted issues that drive certain behaviors. And that started creating, the coaching business. Also, my experience with divorce started my own coaching business and helping people navigate these really challenging times. And from that, my nutrition practice and the life coaching practice or business, I wanted more. I wanted a broader skill set. So I went back and completed a master's in mental health counseling. So I would say I wear a lot of hats, dietitian, therapist, life coach. But generally, I always say if I could talk to people and make them feel better for the rest of my life, that's what I do.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, talk to me about this because you have knowledge, success, impact in your daily life all of the time. What made you decide to write your book? And what is the book's title and what is it all about?
So funny. I remember when I thought of the book's title and I was like, when we were on a call and I had in my head, I'm like, this can't be the title. And I said it and you're like, no, wait, I love it. I love it. I think what got me to write the book was this sense of like, why not? And why couldn't I? Right. I'm very big in this belief that we get to create what we want for our lives and we're in control of that. And so the book was always something I kind of had like far off in, like I need to be at this point in my career. I need to be at this level of success to get there. And it started to feel like, why not? And one of your clients is a friend of mine and she was writing a book and I was like, well, if she can do this, like, why can't I? And I remember being apprehensive before we got on the call to talk about, you coaching me through this writing process. And it just felt like the best vehicle to get my voice and my teaching to more people. And I was like, why aren't I doing this? So very much in line with that vibe and that way of thinking is the premise of my book, which is called Fuck That. And if anybody that really knows me, they're like, that is so appropriate and that is so your voice. So it's fuck that, stop settling, get out of your own way and start creating your dream life now. And I think the book is also very aligned with my own journey. There was certain points in my life that I was very resigned to certain circumstances that were not serving me, that were not healthy, that were causing me to live a life that I was not thriving in. And just so the idea behind fuck that is like, fuck that. Don't live that way. Don't settle for this. You have everything inside of you to create your ultimate dream life.
And it's so funny because I was literally going to bring up that call that we had because I remember and you were like I was like, let's go bold, and you were like, all right, let's do it. And it's funny because I think by the end of this episode, like people who listen to this are just going to have fuck that like permanently like ingrained in their brain. And they're going to be doing something. They're going to be like, fuck that. I'm doing it my way. Fuck that. I'm not settling. Like, and that's a lifestyle, right? Like that is a choice that somebody gets to make. And so for you, I want to just jump straight in here is like, how do we have that like fuck that attitude, but not like the fuck that negative attitude, right? Like, oh, fuck that, I'm not doing that. But like, fuck that, I can do it,
Mhm.
right? How do we start to think about life that way, that we don't have to settle, that we can go after our dreams? Like, how do we do that, whether it's with our health, nutrition, our life? Like, talk to us about that.
I love that you pointed out the distinction between the fuck that, because fuck that can be like a negative connotation, but this is very much driven in that empowered way. And it comes from like most of the times, and all my clients can attest to that, like when they're in this negative space or they're settling for something, my response usually is like, fuck that. Like, here's what you could be doing. And I think it really starts with, and I talk about this in my book, is like building, like first understanding that what you're living, or creating awareness, like I don't have to live like this, or I don't know how to change this, but I know I don't want this. And then in that, what's the first small action step you can take from there? Because I think when you're sitting in a negative space, or you're sitting in a circumstance you're resigning yourself to, or you feel like you can't change, you have no idea what to do. And so it's like, it becomes overwhelming. Like, here I am in this. How do I even start to change this? It's like, you don't need to know how. You need to take one step. And with those small action steps, you start to build a belief and more confidence. And that's what spurs the ability to be like, fuck, with more confidence, fuck that. And the more you take action, the more belief that you build, the more confident that fuck that can be.
Do you believe that confidence comes before action, or action comes before confidence?
I think action creates more confidence. So I think someone that's not confident at all, I mean, obviously, and this is my therapist cap, that's rooted in something. But I think if somebody with very little confidence can take one small actionable step and see even the slightest significant shift in that action, confidence starts to build.
Okay, I love this. I want to tap into this, because when we had our first conversation and this idea that you were going to write the book, and you were like, I'm going to do this. Like, fuck it. Like, that's what you said on the call. You're like, fuck it, let's do it. And
That's going to
I
be
was
the
like,
next book. Bucket's going
yeah,
to be the next book.
right. But you said, fuck it, like, let's do this. What were some of the things that you had to push through during this book process, that really helped you get to the finish line?
I think one of the things that just came up for me is like, when you said that, was like, who am I to write this? And almost like bringing my own confidence level down around my expertise, or what do I have to say, or my messaging. So I think there's a big mental piece to this, is like, who's going to want to read this, or who's going to believe what I'm saying, or give a shit what I'm saying. And so working through that confidence piece. But I think every time I wrote in the morning, or, I usually wrote in the morning, I took that action, and my confidence, like, I know what I'm talking about. I am educated. I have had the experience to teach these things. So I think working through almost like that imposter syndrome was part of my process, like building the, like, no, you are an expert in this, and kind of working through that. And like I said, I think with action, with writing, that confidence built. I think time was always a challenging thing for me. I had a million and one things on my plate when I was writing this book. So making sure I was carving out time to do this. And
What were some of those things, right? Because I don't want you to downplay this. Like you people say like, oh, I'm so busy, I had a million and one things to do. You might actually have had a million and one things. Like, what were some of the things that you had going on during the time of your book writing experience?
So like I mentioned, I own my own private practice. So I'm a practice of 5 other employees. So I'm running a business, managing people, having a full caseload of nutrition clients. I was also in the middle of my master's program to become a therapist. So I was fully ingrained in that, while also taking on therapy clients as an intern at a therapeutic practice. And being a single mom. I have 2 small little crazy men at home. And so being a single mom, and I'm pretty much on my own in that endeavor. So financially supporting 2 kids. So,
Yeah.
oh, and also I was training for a marathon.
And that, like, but this
I
is
forgot about that.
right. But this is why people who are listening to this need your book, because you live the life you talk about, right? And I think that that's something that's really cool with a lot of the people that I get to work with. But it came out a lot for you during the time that we took to get this book done. Is like you had to live your book as you were creating it, right? You had to say, I'm not going to settle and say I can make this excuse. You didn't do that, right? You had the imposter syndrome, but guess what? You got out of your way. You worked through it. You relied on me. You relied on your circle, right? Which is something that you talk about in the book, your friendship pyramid, which we'll talk about here in a second. But that's what it's all about. You could have very easily said, I can't do this. Like, I need to wait, but you didn't. And in 10 months, you went from never having thought about writing a book to now promoting your book and doing all these amazing things. Like, and that was with a few breaks in between. So like you crushed this thing. And I just want you to know, okay, forget everything else that we need to talk about today. But like, I want you to know, like, you freaking did it. And it's so awesome to be here at this conversation because I've been waiting for this one. All right. Because you did it. And it was so cool to see that happen. And, you know, for everyone that's listening right now, like, obviously you can hear my energy. You know, I always have the energy, but Jill brings it, you know, and her book is a testament to her character and to the person that she is based on the work that she does and the coaching that she provides. And so with that, Jill, I want to talk a little more about your coaching. And one of the concepts that you talk about in the book is this thing called the friendship pyramid and like getting a real friend. Like, talk us through what that means and why that's so important when you're trying to create this dream life.
I think what's really important, and what you said is like, I had my circle, right? We don't do this thing life alone, and really making sure you have solid people in your life. And, you know, people that read my book will see, like, I've gone through really heartbreaking ends to friendships or devastating losses or betrayals by friends that I thought were my people. And so, you know, it's really learning to surround yourself with the people that are going to support the life that you're creating. And if you're not surrounding yourself with those people, it's hard, not that it's not possible, but it's harder to get to the space that you want to, or the vision you have for your life, when you don't have the right people in your corner, or you're not surrounding yourself with the right people. But I think what often happens is that we create unrealistic expectations for people in our lives. So the friendship pyramid is really about taking inventory of the people in your life and who they are and where do they exactly fit in. Because what ends up happening with a lot of people and a lot of clients that I work with when we talk about friendships or relationship dynamics is that they have a friend or a person in their life that they're creating the unrealistic expectation. And so they're constantly disappointed by this person. And so what I'll do with clients is I'll walk them through this pyramid, which you'll see in the book. It's like friends, good friends, best friends, ride or dies. I think I'm missing one there. And really we'll go through, let's take inventory. Like if someone's coming in and like, I'm so upset by this person, there it is. I'm so hurt by this person. I can't believe this person did this to me. I'll take them through the exercise of like, let's build this pyramid out. And more often than not, someone will be expecting I actually literally just had this conversation with a client. I'm like, the ride or die is a person that you call and you like, I just killed somebody. And they're like, hold on, let me grab my shovel, right? Like they're the person that's constantly showing up. But what would happen is people put a good friend in the ride or die. Like that's so mismatched. So when you can take inventory of the people in your life and really have realistic expectations where they fit in that pyramid, there's so much ease in that area of your life. Like, you know who you can rely on and you know who you can't. And I've seen it time and time again, like it creates such freedom in my clients. It did for me. And it results in strengthening relationships with those ride or dies or those like best friends where you are not putting those people in the right spot. And I think I'll say it over again, who you surround yourself with is so important in your own growth and your own journey.
It's huge. I mean, what you just talked about is huge. And I encourage everyone to read this in depth in the book. But I think about my own life. You know, I've thought about the different roles friends play. And, you know, I think of it like there are people that I have in my circle that are great to go to the gym with, but they're not the people I need to talk business with. I have people that are great to think big, dream big, plan visions, all those things, but they might not be the person I'm going to talk about my dating life with, right?
Mhm.
And once you can really understand that and give yourself that permission, that allows you to breathe in your relationships, and it allows you to show up more for those people because you know how you need them most and you know how you can help them the most. And I think that this is such a great topic because I can relate to this 100%. And so it's really, really a powerful thing. My question to you would be like, and maybe this is exactly why we want everyone to read the book, but like, if you can give us a little secret, how do we determine what level of the pyramid a friend should be at?
I think it's taking the, like, and I love that you asked this because as you're talking, I'm thinking about energy, right? Like, who is the person that you feel safe with, that you know you can tell something to? Like, who are the person that, like, it's like, go through each person. Can you feel safe with them? Can you openly discuss anything? Can you be vulnerable with them? How do they receive that? Thinking about your interactions with those persons, how do they make you feel? Is it a lifts me up and I feel great, or do you feel drained afterwards? Do you feel like you're always censoring yourself or can't truly express how you're feeling? Can you openly say, you pissed me off, you hurt my feelings, and they receive that? Or are you worried, like, can't say anything? And really just starting to dig into the interactions and the feelings and the energy between in that dynamic,
Yeah.
and really looking at that. I mean, I've had friends when I've done this exercise that, like, this is my really awesome friend, but then I would find myself, ooh, she pissed me off, but I don't want to say anything because it's probably like, and I'm like, wait a second, that's not right. That doesn't fit. And so really thinking about the dynamics at play and the interactions and how they leave you feeling. And I think that helps kind of put them in what category. Also, I think when you appropriately set expectations or do that inventory, it's like, we put so much energy into our relationships. And so if you're in a dynamic where your energy is drained or you're constantly worried or stressed out, like, that takes away energy from something else. And now you don't have the energy to write your book. You don't have the energy to build your business because you're worried about this friendship and it's stressing you out and it's draining your energy. So I think the inventory and looking at those dynamics in the friendship pyramid plays a bigger part in other parts of your lives. And that's why it's also really important.
And what's blowing me away as you're talking about this is I'm like, this is just one part of what you do when you coach and you work with people, right? And this alone could change somebody's life entirely. Like, it can make them more money, it can make them happier, it can make them more fulfilled, it can make their other relationships better because they're releasing some of the existing ones. Like, this is just one of the pieces to your book and to the work that you do. And I want to now go like holistically here because you did it, right? You said, fuck that, we're doing it. You made it a book, you did it, you became a bestseller. Like, looking back, who have you become in the process and what have you learned about yourself that is an evolution of who you were when we had our first conversation?
I think it goes back to that, like, imposter syndrome confidence piece. Writing the book has been like, do you know what the fuck you're talking about? Like, not only do you know it professionally, you know it personally. Like, you have every right to write this book. You have every right to claim that you are, a life coach that can really impact and change people's lives. Like, I think it's given me this sense of confidence that maybe I wavered in, and I was like, who am I? Like, can I call myself a life coach? That seems like, I don't know. And so I think in the course of writing this book, it gave me that, like, I do know what I'm talking about. I do have a lot to offer. I do have impact and can have impact on people's lives. And I also think it's gotten me excited for the bigger picture, or it has made me realize, like, I am somebody that's going to have a bigger impact. And I think, I'm sure I've told you this. I don't love social media. I don't love, like, you'll never see me like dancing and pointing to words. And like, I would get discouraged because I felt like that was the pathway to succeeding. That was the pathway to reaching more people. And I think what the book aligned me with is like, you have to do things your own way. Just because everybody's doing something one way if it's not aligned, if you don't feel lit up about it, if you don't feel passionate about it, it's not your thing, and that's okay. And it's like, fuck that, I'm going this way. Everybody's doing it this, but here's where I feel aligned. And so I remember when I was launching my book, I hadn't at that point been on social media a ton. And I just felt, because I didn't feel aligned on there, and then I launched the book, and standing behind that and everything I'd written, I was like, no, you are an expert and you can come on, and this is the vehicle for you. You can talk about your book, and it just gave me a lot more confidence and alignment, I feel like.
And what happened? Because we see this all the time. Is like everyone has the imposter syndrome. Who am I to write this book? Should I really be doing this? Do I actually know enough? Have I lived enough experiences? Am I successful enough to share my thoughts on this? Who's going to read this book? Like every author goes through this in some way, shape, or form, right? And what we see time and time again, and this is exactly what you're talking about, is by writing the words out, by actually writing the book and doing something that everyone claims they want to do, but very few people actually do it, you now have put yourself to say, wait a sec, I just did this. If I can do this, I'm really that good. And that confidence transcends you into being able to show up differently, become more aligned with areas that maybe you are resistant to. And as you have done that, and as you went into that launch week, you started feeling good, you go into launch week. Obviously, you're probably nervous. You're like, what's going to happen? What's going to go on here? But like, talk to me about how it felt to have your book out there, and what was the support of your friendship pyramid when it comes to your launch?
I think well, first of all, like the whole lead up is nerve wracking, because you're like, am I ready? Is everything set up? Like that could be a whole nother episode of, like, I feel like I almost shit the bed the night before, but like with the setup in the background, like I messed something up and I thought it was going to like a whole catastrophe. I really was nervous. I wanted the book to be received well. I wanted it to do well. I was, hopeful for the bestseller thing. I think at the end of it, what I was most blown away with was the amount of support that I received. And not only just my inner circle, because like, my ride or dies are like, we're telling everybody you're buying your book, the community, everybody rallied around this. And I was just so blessed, and such a sense of gratitude for the support. And I think that more than anything, and the bestseller thing happened, that was amazing, but that just felt amazing. And I felt very aligned in me. Like I talked about the social media thing and not really loving that and being resistant to it. And I think when we have those type of feelings, it kind of chips away around like, am I really this? Can I do this? And I've never felt like more supported and more aligned. And it was like, this is who I am. I step into that. And so, yeah, it was such an incredible lead up and week, and the actual day that, it came out on Amazon, like the whole thing was amazing. Just a testament to, you can create all of that for yourself. Like I did all of that, right? I had the support, but I'm the one that wrote the book. I'm the one that put myself out there. Like I created that support, right? I created the people in my circle. And I think it's just, I don't know. I obviously wrote a book about it. You can create whatever the fuck you want for your life. And so, to have that day turn out the way that it did, it was just a testament to my own journey, which was really cool.
And it is really cool to hear you say all that, because, obviously your ride or dies are going to support you, right? But it's when you see people that you haven't talked to in a decade, or you see people who you're like, I didn't even know you followed me or cared or even knew that I was still around. And they come out and they're promoting your book, and you're like, wait a second, like this really is bigger than me. And I can actually do some damage in a positive way. I can actually make an impact on so many more people than I even thought, right? And I think that that's such a really cool thing that comes from when you launch a book, because you've done the hard thing. And now some of the other things feel a little bit easier, or you feel like you can do them a little bit easier, right? And so as we start to kind of wrap this up and kind of head here, what's next for you? How do you want to, you're fresh off the launch, you're feeling good, you're coming into a season where it's going to be showtime here pretty soon. And you've finished some of your really difficult things, right? Your time is opening up a little bit more now. What is next for you when it comes to growing your practice? Where, with using the book, like where do you want to take this thing?
I'm excited to have more time to promote the book. I think, and probably you wouldn't recommend this, I'm sure you wouldn't, but I like launched and disappeared just because I was finishing up my master's and I had all these other things on my plate. So I'm really excited to get the book out there more. I feel so good about the product and the messaging that I'm excited to talk about it more and get it out there more, promote it more. I always think big picture. So I'm like, I want to be on stages and talking and running retreats. And I think the book has been the vehicle for me to build the confidence to say, I am going to do all those things. So I think, short term, get the book out there more, promote it more, get excited about talking about it more because I have the time and space to do that. And then, yeah, obviously, listen, I said it before, like, I just love impacting people. So, building the coaching business, really getting more of the one-on-one and maybe some group stuff, just because I love changing people's lives. I love helping them feel better, do more, create more. And so just continuing to have that, one-on-one or group setting and build that. And I don't know, if I could talk to people and make them feel better, that's my jam. So I'll always be.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, it's a couple quick ideas for you too as you promote the book more and more. And these ideas work if your book just came out, if you have a book and you're trying to relaunch it, or if you're just steadily promoting your book. But look at your inventory of your circle and see who has communities already, right? And you're going to start doing this already, but I want everyone who's listening to think about this. Who has a community? Maybe they have a group coaching program. Maybe they have a free Facebook group. Maybe they run a mastermind. Reach out to them and offer to do a talk based on your book. Bring in the newest best-selling author, right? Like, you are a best-selling author. You have a book. You are now the ultimate authority, and people will love, love, love to feature you. So the easiest place to start is start with your inner circle, right? The second thing to do is start reaching out to people who are hosting events that have your ideal clients and your ideal audience. Reach out to them and offer to donate your books to their VIP groups, their swag bags, their various different things, and your name will start to get out there more and more and more. And these are a few things that limited energy, but maximum return can be really, really valuable and beneficial. So I hope that those are a couple helpful tips for you.
Yeah, totally.
And helpful for everyone who's listening to this. But look, you said you wanted to write a book. You wrote a book. That book became a bestseller. You have more confidence than ever. And now is the time that you have the ultimate vehicle to creating, as you say, your dream life, right? Yeah. So before we officially wrap up, I'm going to go to a random page in your book, okay? I don't know what page. I told you I may do this. I'm going to go to a random page. I'm going to pick the theme of that page. And we're going to give one more lesson, an actionable item for our audience to do. So tell me when to stop.
Stop.
It's page 69. Your body deserves better. Okay. Your body deserves better. All right. We're in the middle of it. Okay. We're talking about a story with Penny. Okay. That's all I see so far. That's all I see. Give us
wild to me.
A little bit about that story, or a little bit about why that's creating a little emotion for you right now. Like, talk a little bit about that and why your body deserves better, which is chapter 7 of your book on page 69.
Well, what's so wild is Penny is one of my ride or die. She's a sister. It's her mom who passed away almost 7 years ago now. And like, she just shows up everywhere. And I'm so blown away right now that just came up. She's such a force. She was such a force in my life. She was like a second mom. So that part is all about kind of, and I work in my practice for nutrition with eating disorders and disordered eating. And that chapter in that story is about my own struggle with my eating disorder. And I never understood eating disorders. I never had an issue with food. And all of a sudden I found myself at college heavily restricting. And Penny was also a therapist, and I wouldn't talk to anybody about this. And I was really, really struggling, and no one knew how to help me. And I remember getting on the phone with Penny, and she said to me, she's like, this is not about the food. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, it's not about the food. It's something feels out of control for you. And at the time I was struggling with the transition to college. I was a freshman. She's like, something feels out of control for you, and this is within your control. And I think the lesson I want to say, and the takeaway here is, if you're struggling with anything that has anything to do with food or your body or health, you need to dig deeper, because it's not about that. If you are like incessant on losing weight, or maybe it's a guy building muscle and in the gym night, like something else is going on. And whatever you're trying to change via food or exercise or changing your body has nothing to do with that. And you need to dig deeper on what's going on there. And that's the crux of my nutrition practice, is like, what's the deeper rooted issue driving these behaviors? And that was a big aha moment for me.
Wow. Wow. So glad we stopped on that random page to finish up this interview. Oh my goodness. All right. So now you got practical tips in your book. You got emotional stories in your book. You got everything that someone needs to create the life that they want to be creating. So Jill, how do we hire you to work with you? How do we learn from you? How do we connect with you? How do we buy your book? Tell us where to go, and we can.
Okay, well, the best way to learn from me, buy the book. It's on Amazon. Fuck that, Jill Gulotta. Just reach out to me. Like, I'm not one anymore right on social media doing all the things and like on there every day and promoting or selling. But if someone reaches out to me on Instagram, it's at jill.gulotta, and DMs me, I will get on a call with you. I will talk to you. So if you want to work with me, like literally just DM me. You probably won't see me on there launching something, maybe eventually when I get back into it. But yeah, buy the book. There's free resources in the book that you can start doing some things on your own, and reach out to me on Instagram.
There you have it. There you have it. Buy Jill's books, folk. Buy Jill's book. Jill, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you. I appreciate your stories. I appreciate you being part of the Big Idea to Bestseller program. And I can't wait to see where this book takes you. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. And thanks for all your support getting this book out there.
Of course. And for all of you that enjoyed this episode, make sure to go get your copy of Fuck That on Amazon. Make sure to reach out to Jill on Instagram. We'll have it all linked down below. But if you are feeling that you're settling, if you're feeling that you're struggling, if you're feeling that there is more to your life, this is the book for you. Go pick up your copy, and I will see you on the next one.